Ukiah report for May 3rd, 2012. My name is Charlie Vaughn. We've got a great show today. These are the best of times. These are the worst of times. And that's why we are here. That's why we are occupying. In our headlines today, we'll be talking about our May Day event that took place at Alex Thomas Park on May 1st. We'll be talking about the May 12th Occupy Mendocino Street Fair over in Fort Bragg coming up on May 12th. We'll be showing some excerpts from a very excellent nuclear video about nuclear reactors in the U.S. And we'll be talking a little bit about the next show. Tom Ray is going to be our guest, and we'll be talking about foreclosures. So to jump right into it, our May Day event took place on May 1st, Tuesday. We were calling for a general strike. It was International Workers' Day. All over the world, 80 different countries held ceremonies and celebrations and all kinds of events regarding workers. Except we don't do that in this country. The only thing that most of us remember about May Day was the Soviet Union used to have big military parades. Other than that, we never did anything except maybe dance around a maypole as kids. So we had a really great little event in Alex Thomas Plaza. We had food, we had drinks, we had signs, we had an open mic. We invited the public to come and speak. We had probably a dozen or more people get up and talk about workers' issues. We had some political candidates. We had a member of the local union. We had people from Occupy Ukiah. We had people from the general public. It was a very nice day and a very successful event, and I think we can look forward to having more open mic public forums from Occupy Ukiah in the future. And after that, we all marched on Bank of America. We took signs that we had made earlier that day, and we marched on Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Chase, and we told the truth about the fraudulent practices that they are yet practicing, foreclosing, and their various fraudulent practices that are going on. We told the truth about that through the megaphone and waved at cars, and they honked at us, and it was a good experience. The only reason we do this is to draw attention to the issue. We understand that standing on a corner with a sign actually does not change anything, but it can change people's minds, and it draws people's attention to the issue, and it also reminds people that we feel very passionately about these things and we're not giving up. So I would say we had a very good day. We had probably somewhere around 30 to 50 people. It fluctuated at times, and look for more in the future from us in that respect. And moving right on, there's going to be a street fair on May 12th in Fort Bragg, sponsored by Occupy Mendocino. And you can go to their website, which you can see there on the screen, occupymendocino.net. They have a very nice website. And just a little bit on what they're going to be doing. It's going to be a block party style, free entrance, no charge, with guest speakers, music, food, local vendors, kids area, and more. There will be music all afternoon, great food, fun, they say, and they have several, probably 30 or more organizations, nonprofit organizations who have signed on to represent themselves there at the street fair. There will be some political candidates for Congress. There will be representatives from Mike Thompson's office. There will be some general well-known people from the area and some not so well-known people from the area. In fact, I think I'll be speaking there that day. And it should be a good time. and come out and join in. I think it's great for us to work together with the local Mendocino Occupy groups or even the regional Occupy groups and support them in solidarity. I think they've got a great organization going on over there. If you want to know more, go to their website, and they're also looking for volunteers. So if you feel like getting involved in that and volunteering to do whatever they may ask of you, then go to their website, and there is a little icon you can click on to volunteer that says contact us now to participate in creating this fun event. Okay, so we're looking forward to that and hope that you will come out and join us. We're going to move right on to our main feature of the day. I'm going to show a couple excerpts from this really excellent video that I found on the Nuclear Free California site. That's an excellent website, and it's nuclearfreecal.org. And if you go to the website, they have several excellent videos that you can watch. And the one we're going to watch today is actually produced by Al Jazeera News, and it's very interesting. So I'm going to show some excerpts from it, and we're going to get that thing started right now. I will...
In March 2011, a devastating earthquake and tsunami caused a meltdown at Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant, prompting worldwide panic about radioactive fallout. Over 100 similar reactors in the US, some in earthquake zones or close to major cities, are now reaching the end of their working lives. Yet the nuclear industry wants to keep them running. Is America heading straight for nuclear catastrophe?
On March 10, 2011, the highest-ranking members of the NRC, or Nuclear Regulatory Commission, gathered in Washington to make an important decision.
And Commissioner Ossendorf, please affirm your votes.
Aye.
In a unanimous vote, the NRC approves a 20-year license extension for the controversial Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant. Just hours later in Japan, a plant with the exact same nuclear reactor design will face a catastrophic event. A devastating earthquake, followed by a tsunami with waves twice as high as the seawall around the plant, floods out the emergency generators. President Obama warns Americans in Japan to evacuate the danger zone.
Called for an evacuation of American citizens who are within 50 miles of the plant.
Without emergency power, engineers can't keep the reactors cool. Gas explosions destroy units 1, 2, 3, and 4. Radiation levels at the plant are so high that it will take months to get the situation under control. Back in Washington, the chairman of the NRC, Gregory Yatsko, put the agency on high alert.
First and foremost, when there was the earthquake, the agency activated its emergency response center. We were concerned about the potential for a tsunami to hit the plants on the west coast of the United States.
Yatsko also ordered an immediate safety review of all U.S. plants.
Here in the United States, we have an obligation to the American people to undertake a systematic and methodical review of the safety of our own domestic nuclear facilities.
There are 104 nuclear plants in the United States, originally licensed to operate for 40 years. Now, many are reaching the end of their approved lifespan, and the companies that operate them are looking to the NRC to relicense them for another 20 years. Our reporting has uncovered serious problems with NRC oversight that could be putting over 100 million Americans who live near nuclear plants at risk. This siren tests the emergency alert system in the town surrounding the Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant. A series of dramatic equipment failures at the plant have put Vermonters on edge. The most dramatic of which was the collapse of a cooling tower in 2007.
Spewing cooling water all over the backyard. It wasn't radioactive, but that wasn't the point. The point was it's a component of a nuclear power plant that was allowed to degrade to the degree where it actually fell down. And that one picture went viral around this state, and almost overnight, the support that this company had received since the day they bought the plant in 2002 evaporated.
Bob Stannard, a former state legislator, says he was once pro-nuke, but changed his mind after seeing these photos. He's now a lobbyist for a local advocacy group.
A corporation that would allow this to happen to a plant when they're under the microscope and the white-hot light of review, not only from the NRC, but from the state of Vermont. I went to my wife and said, I've got to go back to lobbying. I owe it to my grandchildren who weren't born at that time to do what I can to close this plant down.
This picture, we believe, was taken by an employee of Vermont Yankee and was smuggled out to a nuclear safety advocate who released it to the public.
Bob Audette, a longtime reporter with the Brattleboro Reformer, says the company that runs the power plant, Entergy, initially hid the extent of the damage from the public, raising questions about their operating procedures.
They're doing a cost-benefit analysis. So they're saying...
So we're going to pause it right there. I want to say one thing, and we talked about this in our previous show, and I'm going to continually talk about this as we talk about the nuclear industry. This is true around the world. The nuclear industry executives will always lie. Now, that sounds like a pretty serious statement to call people liars, but it has always been this way with the nuclear industry. Every single accident that has ever happened, if you want to read any books on it, look at videos and watch the progression of information that comes out, they always state it as being less serious than a little more serious, a little more serious, a little more serious. That's how 3 Mile Island was reported. That's how Chernobyl was reported. And now you're seeing here that this collapse of the cooling tower at Vermont Yankee, the first thing is they told the public that nothing had happened. And you'll see further in this video, they're going to tell some more lies. And this is why you cannot trust nuclear executives or politicians, for the most part, when it comes to getting your information about the safety or the non-safety of nuclear reactors. So let's go back to the video. I just wanted to jump in with that real quick. Here we go.
Push this machine. How far can we push this pipe before we replace it? This steam valve, this turbine, how long can the steam dryer last? Should we replace it ahead of time, or can we push it even farther just to save money?
And the cooling tower collapse wasn't the only serious equipment failure, according to Vermont's Attorney General, William Sorrell. In 2004, poor maintenance on one of the plant's electrical systems caused a serious fire in the turbine building, forcing the plant into emergency shutdown. Then, in 2009, in a series of state hearings on the condition of the plant, Vermont officials asked Entergy if underground pipes at the plant could be leaking radioactively contaminated water. Time after time, Entergy executives testified that they had no underground pipes.
They were on record repeatedly as denying the existence of underground pipes carrying radioactive materials.
But in January of 2010, water contaminated with radioactive tritium was found leaking from these underground pipes. Entergy backtracked, telling Vermont's Attorney General that while they didn't have underground pipes, they did have a network of buried pipes.
Sorry, we've said this to you in the past, including under oath, but that was incorrect information, misleading information, and sorry.
Attorney General Sorrell opened up a 17-month investigation. In a deposition videotaped for a later lawsuit, former Executive Vice President Curtis A. Baer admitted that the company misled state officials.
Testimony that was given pursuant to underground and below surface pipes that could have been more accurate. Just a general management breakdown is how I would describe it.
Shame on a multi-billion-dollar-a-year corporation if they cannot articulate clearly. And if they can't, that doesn't mean that you give them a pass and say, oh, mistake on your part. I mean, you want absolute credibility and clarity from those that operate nuclear power plants.
Vermont Yankee had to remove and treat more than 300,000 gallons of radioactively contaminated water. By now, the state's governor, attorney general, and legislature joined the groundswell against relicensing.
If its board of directors and its management were thoroughly infiltrated by anti-nuclear activists, I do not believe they could have done a better job in destroying their own case.
But under U.S. law, only the NRC can decide if a plant is safe. And on the eve of the Fukushima disaster, the NRC approved Vermont Yankee's 20-year license extension.
Well, people don't trust the NRC. They think it's the lapdog of the industry, that basically it's there to affirm everything the industry does, and it's too cozy with the industry.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. The NRC initially developed an extensive inspection regimen to ensure that aging plants were safe to operate an additional 20 years. But those inspections went awry with the very first nuclear plant that came up for relicensing, Yankee Row in Massachusetts.
Over the 30 years of its operation, the reactor vessel has become so embrittled that the vessel is in danger of rupturing. This would most likely result in a large release of radiation to the environment.
The NRC's inspections found that the plant's reactor vessel was in need of immediate replacement. Unwilling to spend the money, the company decided to shut the plant down, even before its original license had expired.
That was an eye-opener for the nuclear industry. You seek a 20-year extension to your facility, and you end up having to shut down 8 years early.
David Lochbaum, a nuclear engineer with the Union of Concerned Scientists, says that when the next plant came up for relicensing, the industry successfully lobbied to narrow the requirements.
In 1995, the NRC revised its license renewal process to narrow the focus. That was the lesson learned from Yankee Row. We'll just stop looking, and because we're not looking, we cannot find any more of those problems.
The NRC's revised regulations for relicensing would now focus only on the aging management plans provided by the utility itself. It's striking what the NRC does not review. No thorough inspections of the infrastructure, no review of new earthquake hazards, and no reevaluation of emergency plans.
We never look, so therefore we never catch those shortcomings and fix them.
Since then, 71 nuclear plants have applied for relicensing, and every single one has been approved. NRC Chairman Gregory Yatsko insists that the streamlined standards don't put the public at risk.
Our job is to make sure that plants are safe today, tomorrow, and every day that they have a license to operate. So if there's a problem with a particular facility, it's our job to make sure they address that problem now, not wait until license renewal.
Cut it right there. And sorry, I should have given you a little heads up on that. We're going to move it on forward. This is a really interesting video. If you really want to watch it in full streaming glory, you should go to the website Nuclear Free California. Now, I apologize for the sort of choppy production on this, but we're a limited studio here, and we have limited capabilities, so we're not able to show the video as nice and smooth as we could if you were watching it on your computer. But this is getting the point across, and if you listen to the message, they're going to give you some very good insights into some of the workings of the nuclear industry and some of the huge mistakes that are being made. Okay, let's continue. Here we go.
Did you know that the Indian Point Energy Center helps power everything you see here and here and here?
You might be surprised to know that the plant that tops the list is Indian Point, just outside New York City.
Indian Point provides about a quarter of the electricity for New York City and Westchester.
The plant's owner, Entergy, has turned to former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani as a paid spokesman because Indian Point has some powerful opponents in New York.
My position has been for a long time that the plant is risky and the plant should not operate.
Governor Cuomo vigorously opposes Indian Point's relicensing. His administration has sued the
and you've got to regulate as if big things can happen.
In California, one of the most seismically active zones in the world, many think it's only a matter of time until the big one.
This may be the facility that, if something does go wrong, could be our Fukushima. Not because of a tsunami, but because of a massive earthquake that could cause catastrophic damage.
State Senator Sam Blakesley represents the district that includes the Diablo Canyon nuclear plant, considered the most seismically dangerous in the country.
Now, if we're talking about something over a magnitude 7...
Blakesley knows the devastating power of earthquakes better than most. He has a PhD in earthquake studies, and he's been urging the NRC to take seismic threats more seriously. In 2008, he became even more alarmed when a seismologist with the U.S. Geological Survey discovered a new earthquake fault.
Looking offshore, I found a number of small earthquakes that previously had looked kind of scattered, actually lined up along a line that ran basically right along the coastline near the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant.
Jean Hardebeck's research points to a dangerous possibility. She says that the newly discovered shoreline fault could combine with another fault called the Hasgri to create a powerful earthquake right at the plant. A similar scenario surprised Japanese seismologists at Fukushima. But the owners of Diablo Canyon, Pacific Gas and Electric, say there's nothing to worry about. They say Hardebeck's analysis is flawed and the plant can operate safely for years.
Having now completed a very rigorous and thorough feasibility study, I'm both pleased and excited to announce we are officially beginning the process to seek license renewal for the Diablo Canyon facility.
I could not understand why the utility was racing to relicense before the seismic information came forward. It was almost as though they were afraid of what they would find.
In the wake of the Japanese disaster, Blakesley called for hearings and confronted an NRC official.
And we're now in a situation where we have information about a shoreline fault, a new fault, in my district, next to my constituents, and you're telling me you're just going to continue business as usual and not delay to get the information before you do your site safety review. And that's unacceptable.
The shoreline fault is well below the ground acceleration that the plant is designed to.
How do you know that?
Based on the scientific studies that have been performed to date.
By whom?
There was a number of folks that were involved with that. PG&E was a party to that. We expect licensees to do those studies.
But relying on information from licensees to determine if a plant is safe may put the public at risk. These PG&E documents, obtained by the Center for Investigative Reporting, reveal that despite their public claims of safety, PG&E's own seismologists have considered the implications of a magnitude 7.2 earthquake along the shoreline fault. This graph shows the ensuing shaking could exceed what the plant is designed to withstand.
The problem is, with the magnitude 7.2, you're getting perilously close to the limits of the facility.
But in its formal report to the NRC, PG&E sent another graph, this one showing no seismic concerns. They told the NRC that because the shoreline fault is segmented, it can't rupture with nearby faults, and therefore a larger earthquake at the plant is impossible. Hardebeck says that way of thinking doesn't add up.
The data I'm looking at, it actually doesn't make sense. The earthquakes along the shoreline fault and very clearly go all the way to the Osprey Fault.
PG&E declined our request for an interview, but in a written statement said, Diablo Canyon was designed and constructed with seismic safety in mind, and components of the facility were tested to withstand probable ground motions resulting from nearby faults.
We should be asking the question, why isn't that work being done by other seismic organizations which have no direct financial interest or benefit in how or when that data is viewed, reviewed, and interpreted? One of the reasons there isn't that kind of rigorous third-party independent oversight is because the NRC doesn't ask it, doesn't demand it, doesn't seek it.
PG&E isn't the only company that has an incentive to minimize earthquake risks. While the industry claims that all its plants are seismically safe, the NRC has recently acknowledged that at least 27 reactors in the U.S. have a known earthquake hazard that is greater than the plant is designed to withstand.
Did you know that the Indian Point Energy Center helps power everything you see here and here and here?
You might be surprised to know that the plant that tops the list is Indian Point, just outside New York City.
Indian Point provides about a quarter of the electricity for New York City and Westchester.
The plant's owner, Entergy.
Yep. You ready? Okay, so I'm going to have to cut that right there. It's a really interesting video. They talk about the Indian Point plant, which is right near New York City. All of these nuclear plants have evacuation plans in the event of an accident. I don't know if any of you have been in rush hour traffic in a big city, San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York. If you've ever been in rush hour traffic, it's impossible to get anywhere quickly at all. Can you imagine if they're trying to evacuate millions of people from an area? You might as well just stay home and soak up all that radiation, because you're not going to do any better to try to get out. Any evacuation plans that they have for these nuclear reactors, it's a dream. It's a lie, because there's really nothing they can do about it. They could not get the people out of the area of Fukushima in time, and that was not a densely populated area. So anyway, we're going to move on from that video to our last item, and that is a letter that was written. It's an urgent request from many organizations in Japan to the United Nations requesting assistance because of the danger of the Fukushima Daiichi Unit number 4, which we talked about in our last show. It is one of its walls was blown out in the explosion after the tsunami, and the building is leaning, and it possibly could fall, especially if there was another earthquake or other such catastrophe, maybe a typhoon, which Japan gets. So we're going to read this letter that was written, and it's signed by 72 organizations in Japan and written to the United Nations. So here we go. The letter states, "We, Japanese civil organizations, express our deepest concern that our government does not inform its citizens about the extent of the risk of the Fukushima Daiichi number 4 unit, spent nuclear fuel pool. Given the fact that collapse of this pool could potentially lead to catastrophic consequences with worldwide implications, what the Japanese government should be doing as a responsible member of the international community is to avoid any further disaster by mobilizing all the wisdom and means available in order to stabilize this spent nuclear fuel. It is clearly evident that Fukushima Daiichi Unit number 4 spent nuclear fuel pool is no longer a Japanese issue, but an international issue with potentially serious consequences. Therefore, it's imperative for the Japanese government and the international community to work together on this crisis before it becomes too late. We are appealing to the United Nations to help Japan and the planet in order to prevent the irreversible consequences of a catastrophe that could affect generations to come. We herewith make our urgent request to you as follows. Number 1, the United Nations should organize a nuclear security summit to take up the crucial problem of the Fukushima Daiichi Unit Number 4 spent nuclear fuel pool. Number 2, the United Nations should establish an independent assessment team on Fukushima Daiichi Unit Number 4 and coordinate international assistance in order to stabilize the unit's spent nuclear fuel and prevent radiological consequences with potentially catastrophic consequences. This is a very serious letter written to the United Nations, and that's just a little piece of what's going on in Fukushima. Just realize if we were to have an earthquake, in the video we just saw, they were talking about Diablo Canyon was built to withstand earthquake up to 7.2. Well, all of us here in Northern California and all of us here who've lived on the West Coast know that a 7.2 earthquake, while being strong, is not all that big. We've had a lot bigger. And the one in Japan was an 8.9. They built seawalls to withstand a lesser earthquake. They never expected an earthquake on the level of 8.9. They built the seawalls, to withstand the tsunami. So the earthquake was bigger than they expected, and the tsunami was way bigger than they expected, which wiped out the emergency systems for the plants. Well, the Diablo Canyon is built to withstand 7.2. That's not all that big of an earthquake. What if we get an 8.5? What if we get an 8.2? What is going to happen to that plant, and what is going to happen to our environment here on the West Coast and on the planet, which would then be Fukushima and Diablo Canyon, or San Onofre, or Vermont Yankee, or any number of the 400 units across the planet, or the 100-something units here in America. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to put pressure on our elected officials to stop this madness. We need to work towards shutting down all of the nuclear power plants across the country. That's a very strong statement. I know a lot of people will think that's crazy. We only produce 20% of our electric needs with nuclear power nowadays. Germany has completely shut down their nuclear industry and is now nuclear free. We can do it. The time to start was many, many, many years ago. Let's start now. We could have Fukushima right here in our backyard if we're not careful. And there is a nuclear storage facility right up the road from us in Eureka. It's a decommissioned power plant which has nuclear fuel pools of spent nuclear fuel just like Fukushima. Now they have reinforced it. They say it can withstand an 8-point-something earthquake. I don't remember the exact number. But remember, they always underestimate the danger. They never state the truth to the public. It's time for us to activate around this issue and to safeguard our world for our grandchildren and for their grandchildren's grandchildren. Some of these isotopes are lethal for not only thousands of years, but tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, and millions of years. That's longer than humans have been on the planet. We have no right to poison the environment of this planet for that long. Let's put a stop to this madness. All right, let's put a stop to this report right now. We're going to move on, and our next show, as I said, will be all about foreclosures. Tom Ray, a member of Occupy Ukiah, will be coming on, and he's got some new information that's come out on foreclosures that's going to be coming out nationally. It's a very difficult topic to understand, and he's going to help us do it. So in closing, remember, you can always contact us at our General Assembly at Alex Thomas Park on Saturdays at 10 o'clock. You'll see our canopy will be up there. And you can also talk to or listen to Tom Ray's radio show on KMEC at 105.1 radio, 5 o'clock on Wednesdays. You can also get more information on what's going on with Occupy Ukiah and see past shows if you log into occupyukiah.info. And you can also write to us at P.O. Box 686, Redwood Valley, California, 95470. P.O. Box 686, Redwood Valley, California, 95470. We always welcome any comments that you have to make. Remember, we may read them on the air. So just think about that before you make any comments. But we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear your suggestions, your criticisms, whatever you might have to say. So in closing, we're going to go to our Howard Zinn quote of the week. This is one of Howard Zinn's later quotes. He died a little less than 2 years ago. He wrote A People's History of the United States and a number of other books. He was an amazing author, an amazing activist. Please look up some of his information. He's quite the guy, a World War II veteran. The quote for the day is, I think people are dazzled by Obama's rhetoric. We'll start that again. I think people are dazzled by Obama's rhetoric, and that people ought to begin to understand that Obama is going to be a mediocre president, which means, in our time, a dangerous president, unless there is some national movement to push him in a better direction. Well, folks, that's what Occupy Ukiah is trying to do. We are trying to push Barack Obama and all of the politicians who hold the strings of power. We're trying to push them in a better direction. You know, I know, we all know there's a lot of things that are messed up in this world. It's not working right. It's not sustainable. We can't continue with this kind of crazy economy, with this kind of crazy military intervention, with this kind of crazy nuclear adventurism going on around the planet. It's time for us to speak up, tell the politicians that we are in charge. They are our public servants. We are the government. We are the 99%. There's way more of us than them. If we all speak up, then they have to follow our direction, or we'll put in somebody who will. That's what representative government is about. If it doesn't work, let's change it. Okay, folks, it's been great talking with you today. I hope it's been informative. And with that, this is Charlie Vaughn signing off. Thanks to Greg Simsick in the booth, and Sean Mendelson, who's helping him today. And this is Charlie Vaughn signing off. We'll see you around town.